my attention today. So good morning and welcome back to Training by Powered by Ground. We focus on Fridays on new home sales and why we should slowly or more intensively move our business to that direction, understanding that it's a big sector of our market. Actually, even before I start, yesterday we had a great meeting with a group of lenders and a couple brokers who do new home sales in our space in our county, and it was interesting to listen how there's people who actually build their business around this space. And he told one of the lenders said that one of his buddies in Arizona actually works all the loans that D.R. Horton can't do inside of their inside sales. That overflow of business, they're picking it up, helping people go through restructuring of their credit, all of this, and getting them back to buy a home. So what I'm saying is, if you just move your business a little closer to new home sales and whatever sector you are, there is a lot of, I would say, overflow business that comes out of it that the inside sales team can't even or don't have the capacity to fulfill it. So our goal is to train brokers in the space of new home sales, and our goal is that we would learn to collaborate more with builders, brokers, developers, investors in the market that we are in. What you would find is any metro market that you go, you will find these people. They are in that market, they're producing product, they're taking things to the market, and they're constantly looking how to do business with brokers. What we find is that brokers just don't understand enough about their world to service and help them. And that's actually one of the motivational thoughts of the day. Is service or services and management. If you look at the economics of business, I would say the foundational economics is services and management. And on Tuesday, we talk about increasing our services. You can learn how to increase your scripts and work objections and all of that. But we talk about services. If you increase the services you can offer to your clients, your business will keep going up. Your production will keep going up. If you learn how to provide services, and oftentimes what helps is listening to your client's needs. So if you're a careful listener, you'll hear what your clients need, and then your goal is to go and find that service and meet the need of your client if you don't know anything about it. But the more you do that, listen to what your clients have, write it down, say, I will get back to you, give me 2 days, go figure out how to answer that question and bring it back to your clients. That is the service that you can offer. And eventually, when you have all of these services that you know how to do, and we talk about that more in detail, you learn how to manage. What do you manage? You manage all of these services around your client. So when we talk on Tuesday about your client needs a good roofer, you go find a roofer and then you facilitate, you manage the whole process around your client. You're saying, hey, I'll help you get that bid for that roof, or I'll help you schedule that. That goes all into management. But the more you learn services, and then the better you are at managing it around facilitating around your client, this is what produces business. I didn't start as a great salesperson. Actually, everybody laughs at me when I say that, but it's true. I am not a natural salesperson, but I understood that I had services that I can offer that other people didn't have. And I build my service pool, but then I learned management. I learned time management, I learned leveraging, I understood how to take things and cram them in an 8-hour day. And then people start asking the question, how do you get so many things done? Well, it's all this management that you learn how to do, and then you start to facilitate. You facilitate everything around your client, the services and the management around your client. And then when you start doing this, your clients go, wow, he did this for me, and he did this for me, and he got my home sold, and he got it prepped, and he got this, and he got this, and he got this. It's interesting, I was at the training yesterday at the mastermind that KW had. And it's, I mean, again, it's going back to these two fundamental things, but there's a broker, I think somewhere on the East Coast, I forgot the name, but he says, all she says is, let me help you prep your home. You know, her theme, I guess, is prep slow, sell fast. And she says, let me help prep your home to the market so we could sell it faster. So she goes in with her contractors, going back to services, her, home designers, her painters, her everybody to that house, and she starts working with the seller, and she says, give me 60 days to help prep your home on the market, and then we increase the potentiality of selling it faster. But that's her business model. But what is she doing? She packaged all her services, presents it to her client, allows the client to buy into those services, and then she manages for 60 days to prep the house to the market. So build up our, and again, we're going to talk a little bit more on that, but build these categories. Study, pull up people who educate in depth on services and management, but there's so many depths, but if you could just start understanding and taking one thing at a time on services and management. Services and management. Previous lesson we talked about land acquisition, land development. We talked about building of the product, and we talked about the sales management of helping sell that product. And again, this is all part of new homes. I call it the manufacturing process. There's a process from the start, and it's delivering the product at the very end. And it starts with the land acquisition, helping the homeowners determine what can be done with their land. And usually it goes into two sectors, residential or commercial. The next is land development. So you take that piece of land and now you start to figure out its best use. And I always say when you go down this path of manufacturing, you have to know your starting point and you have to know your exit. And some of you that have brought me into these meetings, I take the client through the whole process. Because you can't start with a product here where there's no market here. So if somebody says, right here, we want to build $30 million homes in Clark County, just a case study. We want to build $30 million SFRs in Clark County. I'll say you can build anything you want, but there's no market for it. The exit won't work. Could you do it? Yes. I've seen some guys build some big houses in Clark County, and they just own it for the rest of their life. Because nobody else wants it. It was just them who wanted it, will keep it, The market cannot absorb it. So when you start in land acquisition right here, I say it's very simple. Look at the neighborhood around the project. It'll give you a pretty good idea of what's happening. Just, look at the radius. 5-mile radius, 1-mile radius. Look at the neighborhood and figure out your exit strategy, and then start again and work your way back and forth with the client. And this is what we talked about last time, from land acquisition to taking product to the market. And I've seen a lot of builders, developers, they really mess up when they bring wrong product to the market. Because either the market's not willing to pay them the money, the market's not willing to do. And what's interesting, when you get to this stage, they're like, where's my broker? Why are my brokers selling the homes? And I go, yes, you can bring product, but it doesn't mean I can sell it. You have to figure out, this whole process. And this is where we as brokers come in. Either we want to help them sell the product or we don't. But this is kind of the whole lay of the land of what we were talking about last week about going from land development, land acquisition, all the way to your exit and working backwards. The same model works in renovation, remodels. It's the same thing. You pick up a house that's a fixer flipper. What is your exit? How much are you going to invest in improvements into the home before you take it to the market? In the investor world, they say $1 in, $1.15 to $1.25 out. You have to make money on money, otherwise you can make the house look beautiful, but you're never going to get your money back. Any questions on this? Sure.
So you said, which you just erased, about where's my broker?
Yes.
After you've done land acquisition.
Correct.
Why would they be looking for the broker at that point?
At the land acquisition or at the exit?
At the exit.
So because they need to move their product, they need to sell it.
Right.
So when developers start or moves it moves from a land acquisition to a developer, then to a builder. So the builder is building product that the developer, whatever the developer designed. And usually this is a problem just everywhere. There's a lack of communication or concept. When one person does the whole thing, it's so much easier than if it's transferred hands. So like if this is a bad project now a broker has to come in and say, from the get-go, you guys screwed up. From the very start, you guys are bringing the wrong product to the market. Yes, it's a new product, it's a new thing, it's a new concept, but it's the wrong product, or it's the wrong price point that you guys were aiming at.
And then who got them to make the wrong product? The builder?
Oftentimes, yeah, it's between the developer and the builder that make that wrong judgment.
I get it.
So again, that's why I say all top producers who are brokers actually understand this whole flow chart, and this is why they become top producers, is because the more they consult or guide their clients of how to deliver product to the market, they're the rock stars. Everybody wants them along this whole process because they're helping them on the exit. So they're helping them move through product. They're helping them, sell the things. So when for example, if we talk about 2024, I talk to my builders and my investors, and number one thing I talk about is absorption. We're at 3 months of inventory. This is an ongoing conversation that I have with everything. Just a sec. This is an ongoing conversation. Why? Because I say it's great that you have product, but I have to spend more marketing dollars to move this product. That's what absorption means. Things will take slower to churn. So what's my conversations with investors? Well, you wanted to be out of this project in 2 weeks, but no, now you're going to be out of this project in 4 months.
A year.
Or a year. It's the same conversations we have with sellers, right? So a seller I could consider as an investor. We talked about this on Tuesday because they have more capital. So now you're guiding them not only about selling their home, but what to do with their capital, what their equity position is, and so forth. Investors are the same thing. They want to turn their money in the market, come out, making some money, and then figuring out where to place it next. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, and just, get real about it too. There aren't very many top producing brokers that know how to take a builder from that whole process to get them to, especially in this market.
That's why we're having these trainings.
Exactly. And
Yes.
oh.
Go ahead. No.
And the other thing I was going to say, I lost
Sorry. I jumped in.
I thought Victor was over raising his hand.
No, Victor ain't saying anything.
Shoot, what was I going to say? Dang it. Oh well.
Okay, you can raise your hand again. So what I'm saying is going back to the fundamentals. Let's keep this simple. Services and management. You're increasing your services, meaning you're learning how to talk with investors. You're understanding what they're trying to achieve. You're increasing your services. You're learning what builders are talking about. You're learning what the developers, you're learning what they're talking about. And we will create scripts and all of this a little later down the road. But go ahead.
It's just like, it's not smart to take a listing that, that they want to overprice. It's just like setting a builder up with, putting them in these predicaments that are going to turn into, them holding a house for a year. And I think that brokers probably get excited when they get to work with builders. They're like, oh, I have this huge opportunity. They really have no idea what they're really getting themselves into. They don't know the numbers. So it's so important to really know how the new construction thing works. I always ask David, I'm like, help me on the numbers, how does this make sense? And lots of times he's like, that's not even worth it this week. You gotta look at the long thing. These people are gonna be coming to us distressed. So that's what's gonna happen. And so it's a big deal. It's people's lives. It's these builders, if they're gonna make it or not. And they're getting carelessly handled sometimes. But it's not the broker's fault either. They're trying. There's not that education out there about how to make it work and how it works, how new construction works in real estate.
Exactly. So why do canceled and expired business exist? Why does that exist? Because the broker who took on that job did not do a good explanation or a good service going back to that client and could not educate them on the true market of the status, right? So then, especially now, we can talk about, but there's going to be a huge pipeline of expireds and cancels. Why? Because not enough information is being relayed, not enough good service is being done. So and we just talked about this week, when you put a house on the market on Thursday and are reviewing offers on Monday, you don't have to have any conversation with your clients. All you're going to say is, we're going to put this thing on the market and then review offers on Monday. But now, 3 weeks later, you're not reviewing offers. Now you got to say something to your client. So what are you going to say? And this is where we have to increase our services and our communication skills, our management skills, going back to management. Your clients should be getting, the showing reports. They should be getting all of these things to see that, yeah, we're in the right price point, we're at the right this, but there's just not enough buyers right now in the market. It takes about 2 to 3 months to turn things. So all of these other services that we didn't do for the last 5 years, we have to do, even for sellers now. Same thing with buyers. So the service skills do go up in harder time frames because we have to spend more time with our client. But in the builder world and the developer world, some projects take 2 years. So you better figure out how to have a lot of conversations with them throughout these 2 years. So you do have to build your sales skills and understand processes and talk product and talk exit strategy and talk holding concepts and all of this. But these are services we have to learn even when we're just talking to a traditional seller. And a lot of us who have even been around when distress was around, it's the same conversation, right? Mr. Seller, we're going to be in this transaction for 6 months. This is a bankruptcy. This is a short sale. There's no equity in the home. This is how long it takes things to get done. And for 6 months, you're holding their hand, moving them through the file. Call it therapy, but yes, it is therapy to some extent. So today I want to talk about the 4 tiers that is mostly found in new home sales. We start with the salesperson. A salesperson is, they become the expert in selling, period. So their whole goal is to help overcome objections. Their whole goal is to just be a great seller in selling product. You just become a great salesperson. And we say that you need to know about 15 to 20% of the product to sell it. So it's good to know about new home communities. It's good to know about the builders in town. It's good to know about local builders versus national builders. It's good to know between production builders and custom home builders. It's good to know all of these things. That's what makes you a good salesperson. You understand product, you understand the space, and you're turning around and selling and talking to your client about this. And we're not going to go into detail how that looks, but you just become a great salesperson. And I think when you take a look at Resale, when they teach you scripts, learning to overcome objection is probably the number one thing that's the greatest in becoming a salesperson. And I say no is never an answer. It's just a matter of when. So I think those are the two greatest stepping stones if you want to become a great salesperson. Is overcoming objections and then never taking no as an answer. So if you call a builder and say, can we help list your homes? He would be saying no. Like, he has another listing broker. But that doesn't mean anything. Again, we're salespeople. No is not an answer. It's just a matter of when. So overcoming objections is probably the number one thing. In resale, it's the same. In new homes, it's the same concept. In distress world, it's all the same. You got to help people, explain to them why they need to sell this home, why it's maybe not good to have their home vacant, or in resale, maybe it's the best decision for them to sell, not to hold, not to be a landlord, whatever, but overcoming objections. Because a lot of people shouldn't be landlords. That's because that's a whole other business model. And oftentimes when people try to bridge into that, they usually flop, because they get bad tenants, because they don't know how to underwrite tenants. So this is what conversations you should have with your sellers. But objections and learning to take no as an answer is probably the biggest two skills you have to develop as a salesperson. Even starting up the division, I talk to a lot of people. Some people say, we don't need this service. And I'm like, sure, just give me some time. And 6 months later, they're calling me, right? What happened? I have to take no as an answer and just say, sure, okay. You smile at people, you're like, sure, just a matter of time, right? So then you sit down with them and, now we have to talk about their product, or we have to talk about the market, or we have to talk about, what we need to do to move things through. And that was one of the conversations this week with the builder and another broker. So we go back, we go to sales team. This is back to management. When you have so much work that there's an overflow. So this is more solo. This is starting to go in a team model. And I like Keller's concepts of team building. I think it's phenomenal. And you should study that framework and then kind of cherry pick what is the best thing to start building inside of your team. But it's hard to be solo for a very long time. Most brokers who have been in the business, I would say at least 5 years plus, eventually at least build a team to an admin. They at least hire an admin or a transaction coordinator. Eventually, you within 5 years, you have to move into this space at one level or another. Because they talk a lot in sales about not doing the work that's the least paid. You have to move out of that category. You got to go into the space where your time is producing the most amount of income. So sales team is where you're starting to team build, you're starting to manage people, you're starting to source leads, and there's a huge overflow of this that's starting to come here. So a lot of brokers come to me and ask me for business that's an overflow. Because as a one person, you can only do so much, and then it's about your team. So if you only have an admin, you can do so much more. If you have a lead coordinator, then you do so much more work, and so forth. Everything has its cap. Everything has its cap. And you have to build up to those caps. So one solo person, how many deals can they do just single-handedly before they burn out? Maybe they could do 4, 5, 6 transactions a month solo. They can. And they'll probably do it for, a year or 2 years, but they'll burn out. I've seen too many great salespeople burn out because they never transition into this category. And that's usually the indicator, and then they say, I hate this industry. Because they should have moved to the next tier and they didn't want to do that. They just maximized their capacity at this level, but they did it for so long that they just burned out. So they have to move into the team aspect of a sales team where they're at least managing and leveraging a little bit. Then you're going into managing, and again, let me say it this way. You can be a salesperson for the rest of your life. You can do 2, 3 transactions a month. You can have a great life. You can pay your bills. You can own a house. You can own your car. You can build a life just being a good salesperson. And I've seen a lot of, just don't burn out, but you could be a great salesperson just being a salesperson. You could be a great sales team with just one admin. I know a lot of brokers who are a broker plus an admin and they're just happy. The admin does everything, the paperwork, the transactions, all of this. The person running the team just does sales. That's all they do. They just meet with clients, put deals in the pipeline, and that's all they do. And they're happy at this tier. And again, maybe you're one of those people. You build up to this category and you're happy. Or you move to this category and you're happy. I'm just saying, there are other tiers to grow in and develop. And this might be a roadmap for you. So going from sales team to sales manager, this is about leverage. Leveraging people, talent, and finance. When it comes to working with builders, you're managing accounts and you're managing processes. So when you go into a sales manager position, you're managing people, talent, and finance. So when I had a big team, when I was running bigger volume, and we're slowly moving in that direction again, I hired people, inside people, people in the field. I looked at their capacity, what can they do best at, and then I focused on finance. Do I have enough money to pay these people to stay, for us all to stay in business? Because the minute you start to hire people, their number one thing is security. Can you pay them? And most people, if you can't pay them, they will not work for you. That's about it. And talented people want a lot of money. The more talented they are, the more they want to get paid. I mean, it's fair game. But I'm just saying, when you're in this pool, you better understand how this works. Then you go into this. You're managing accounts, builders, developers, investors, and you're managing processes, just like I said, the whole process. Whether it's somebody taking one lot, splitting it into 2, and just having 2 parcels, or is it one guy taking one lot and splitting it into 100 lots? You're evaluating the whole process, and you're helping them on the exit. So processes is huge. We do these 2 on a smaller scale in resale. We take a seller, we take a buyer. I'd say that's just one account, and you take them through the whole process of buying a home, or you take them through the whole process of selling their home. We do these same fundamental concepts in other sectors of our business. All we have to do is just learn new services in new home space and start to bring it back to our client pool. So you go to become a sales manager where you're focusing on leveraging people and then leveraging accounts, leveraging processes, leveraging money. And all of this is a lot to balance, but that becomes your full-time job. While the salespeople that are underneath you are doing this job, and then the admin part is doing this job. You're focusing on doing this. That becomes your job. People think owning a business, you just don't work. That is not true. Owning a business means you work full-time plus overtime. That's what it means to owning a business. And you take your business everywhere. On your vacations, to your dinner table, to your breakfast, it doesn't matter. It goes everywhere with you, right? So what I'm saying, eventually, what this becomes is like a new lifestyle. So I was a salesperson, then I became a sales team, then I became a sales manager. It's changing your whole lifestyle into that space. And it doesn't happen overnight. You have to build into it. And I always say in business development, a lot of reverse engineering that I've done to move from one space to another takes about a good 6 months. So don't think like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this and it's all going to work. For you to move from one space to another, it takes a good 6 months to find the right admin person, to eventually train that admin person, to eventually cultivate these processes. It takes about a good 6 months to transition into this category, and probably another 6 to 9 months, because this is probably a bigger jump. This would take probably 6 to 9 months. That's why a lot of people, they can't contribute that much time to do it. So if you look at like how many salespeople are in our industry compared to sales teams and then sales managers, there's less and less people running their businesses at these volume. Why? Because you have to transition into that category. You just don't wake up and run the biggest sales team in Clark County. It doesn't work that way. You have to move from one space into the other. And then the last one is investors. If you believe in real estate and you think this is the best journey as a career, if you believe in real estate as the greatest investment, then you yourself need to invest into real estate. That's it. You yourself have to become an investor, believing in your own product that you're selling to your clients. It amazes me that there's a handful of brokers who become brokers and never buy their own real estate. Then what are you selling? Then you're not confident enough yourself in the product that you're delivering. I bought my first real estate 3 years going into this industry. In 3 years, I bought a piece of dirt. That was my goal. I was working up to that goal. I built my own house because what? Because I believe in that. I believe that if you work with your own hands to build your own home, you're building equity into it. I truly believe. So I went through that process. So I believe each broker should eventually, at some tier, become an investor. At some tier. If we tell our clients that owning a home versus renting, that over a lifetime you're well off financially, well then go buy a house and hold it for 20 years and become part of that story. Our product is real estate. I love real estate. I think real estate generates a lot of wealth for a lot of people, from a family to the investor pools and people who invest in Wall Street in real estate, from REITs and all of that. So I believe that real estate is a huge complement financially to people, from families to investors, to people who own thousands of rentals. It's a huge complement to their life, to their lifestyle, to their business development. It's a great asset class. People like it because they can hold it, they can see it, they can feel it, they can be a participant. There's an experience background to it. There's a lot of factors, even on the home aspect, right? You're really selling an experience. I drive down 101st in Mill Plain, where I grew up as a child. That home has an experience with me, even though we were renters. I remember the first house my parents bought off of 162nd. That was a Sun Country home. And I remember living in that community. They spent 3 more years building out that community. I could remember as a kid growing up, and I heard the framers nailing those nails at 7 o'clock in the morning. But that's an experience. I had an opportunity to see a community built out while still a child. I drove around and saw those cider guys and windows installers and those roofers. And then I actually walked as a kid through homes that had sheetrock or whatever, and you walk through the studs. It's fun when you're a kid to do that, right? So like that all, brought an experience into my life, on a subconscious level. But that's all what you have to bring to your clients. But you yourself have to believe that that's really what real estate does. So I say real estate is everywhere. It's in every country, in every city. People live in homes. And I've sold every single house, especially when we had the repos. I even sold a house without a well and without power for like $18,000. I was like, who's going to buy this? And somebody came up with the money and they bought it. They wanted to bring cash, and I said title companies don't take cash. So we had to figure out that process. But I'm saying people buy real estate at all levels. At all levels. So you have to become an investor. You have to at least transition from here to here at some level of your career. Whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I don't care. But you have to at least bridge into that space, because this is where you believe in your own product. You buy your own product. If you like iPhones, you buy iPhones. You spend $1,000. It's $1,000, but you still spend it. People, when they believe, that they like those shoes, they spend a couple $100 buying those shoes. It's like, what does it matter? It's just a pair of shoes. No, they believe in it. So if you believe in your product, you have to go buy it. Go buy a house, rent it out. Actually, it was, I think it was last month, had a conversation with one of the team members. She's like, you know what? One of our team members went and bought an LGI home. It was the greatest. They had the most amount of compensation. They gave her the best rate. And like, she's telling me about the experience of buying new homes. And I'm just listening. I was like, it's amazing. The broker went and bought a house and had a phenomenal experience. Go sell that experience to your clients, Like, but go sell that experience now to your clients and go sell 5 more LGI homes. That's what I've been talking about every single Friday, right? Like, they're offering great compensations. They're buying down your rate. They're building out the community. They're desperate. They're the most motivated seller out there, So they're going to make a deal with you. So I'm just telling you, it's like the more I do this and the more like I listen to conversations, it's like you bought into that experience. You became the investor. You bought that real estate. Now go sell that experience to your pool. Sell it to the people who are following you on social media. Talk about how you just bought an LGI home or DR Hornet, and they gave you, $30,000 of compensation. Nobody gives out $30 of compensation. Nobody ever gave me $30. $30,000. I've always worked for it. So these are the 4 levels of development. And going back, if you're a salesperson, you can stay in this space, but I highly recommend you enter and at least buy your first home here. If you want to be in longevity of this industry, you better move into a sales team. Becoming a manager of where you're leveraging talent, people, and finance might be for you or might not be for you, and where you're managing account processes. And then working with investors. If you become an investor yourself, you will work with investors. When you go buy your first home, when you go buy your second home, when you go buy your third home, you start to change. What changes? Your lifestyle and your mindset. Your mindset and your lifestyle change. And what do? You attract other people who have the same lifestyle and same mindset. So when you change your mindset and your lifestyle, you're going to attract people who have the same mindset and lifestyle. So this is why you want to move into this space as fast as you can. I made that jump in 3 years in this career. And looking back, I think it was the best thing I could have done for myself. Is bought a home and spoke about it and went through the whole process and invested capital. And probably looking back, like if I sold and cashed out, it's one of the greatest assets that I've invested in. But you have to somehow become this investor. Any questions?
So you're saying you bought the dirt, you
I didn't sell it. I'm keeping it, but yes, that was my first one, and I still keep it. I'll probably keep it for the rest of my life. Why? Because it's the story of my life. Why sell it, right? Why? Just keep it. Yeah, I'll turn it into my museum. It all started here. Okay, we're good on the camera. Any questions?